You may be wondering, why are you sitting on the floor of your bathroom? Well, I wanted to get away from everything and have just a moment with you guys of just pure silence from my child and husband and share with you briefly my story. Today at church, my pastor talked about how big is God and that nothing he does is by accident. And it dawned on me, February 26th was 3 years ago I moved to Tennessee. Now, some of you who may be watching remember this and how crazy it sounded, and still to this day when I share with you how crazy it sounds, and it's not the norm, but when you truly just do what God tells you to do, it is amazing what happens. It's no, things just fell into place. He was talking about that, my pastor. And it's true. So many of us say, oh, that just happened by chance or luck. And, that's not true. God places things in order. He created us and knows everything before us. So almost 3.5 years ago, I would say, I was in a place of misery. You wouldn't really know it unless you were a close friend of mine, when behind closed doors, how kind of rocky I was and very almost sickening. I did not know how to let go. I did not know how to not want to change things around me. The serenity prayer. Yeah, I couldn't do that. And I was just stuck. And since I was a believer, I still am, but at that time, I tiptoed the whole 1 foot in the quote unquote Christian world, to, non-Christian. And it was like a battle and no peace. I had no peace at all. And I remember it took a lot. I had to get ran over time and time again by the same person, and then of course I felt defeated by myself and what's wrong with me, and, took the hardship of those choices to just literally falling in my apartment, hands and knees to the floor, just bawling. Just tears flowing. I'll never forget that. That was the first time in a very long time I truly cried out to God. I couldn't do it anymore. For so long in my life till that moment, I always asked God after or even before, and I would do it my way, and then once my way wasn't working out, then ask God, and then once that was starting to work out, go back to my way. Or, we think we can just do it all, and that is not by any means true. And people like me have to learn the hard way. So I was on my hands and knees, and all I did was ask for change and for God to use me. And by change, I meant, just the daily thing. I was in a horrible cycle. It was literally insanity. It was very disgusting. Believe it or not, my standards were so low. I, am ashamed of the things I allowed to happen to myself because I believed I had no self-worth. I believed things that were spoken to me about my intelligence, my career path, my faith, so, once you hear things enough, you do tend to believe it. So when that moment, I cried out to God and asked for change, I never expected what would happen next. So get ready for this, because it's not going to, you're going to try to question everything I'm about to say. Once that happened, the same exact laptop I'm on now, my heart said Tennessee. It was very weird to me. I didn't know where in Tennessee. I didn't know if I was supposed to move. I didn't know what was going on. So I got on the laptop, went to Google Maps, state of Tennessee, and I said, okay, God, if this is really you, we're at Tennessee. And it was just like clear direction. Cookeville. There was Cookeville. And I'm like, never heard of Cookeville? You know, when you hear Tennessee, people either talk about Nashville or Knoxville. So I'm like, okay. Well, to try to keep this short, I actually have a friend named Alyssa. I won't go with her last name because she's on Facebook, just for her privacy. But she came with me. We visited Tennessee here in Cookeville, and I thought that was my step in faith. We visited, I want to say October. This happened in September. We came in October for the weekend just to check it out, see the place. And, you know, I remember being in the hotel room crying to my mom, I don't want to move here. I don't like it. You know, I don't know what's going on. And came back to Illinois, and I was like, okay, I did what you said, God. Went to Cookeville. Okay, what's next? Well, this people don't do, and I really don't suggest it, but I challenged God. 5 months, that's why I said almost 3.5 years ago. 5 months, I challenged God. From that point on till February, I challenged God. It wasn't like I was a college student seeking to go to a university there. It wasn't like I had friends, a boyfriend. Some people thought I had a secret lover. None of that. I didn't know one single person from Cookeville, Tennessee, or any of the surrounding areas. So I challenged God, and there was 5 things, and it was from my workplace where I worked at Menards. If things, give me to get out. Peace with my parents, to move. Also, I had close friends that I truly I didn't want to leave, I had Corinne and Nicole, those sisters, we were really close, literally neighbors in the same apartment complex, and I didn't want to leave them, and, what we had was so just extraordinary. I didn't want to leave that. And so anyways, things along those natures, specifics. And so sure enough, with Menards, the whole way they ran, it went to a point system right before I left. The store manager, that chain, they, from one thing to the next was different. Talking to my parents, I just had a peace about it. And then my friends were moving, and then my best bud, he was going off to college there in Bloomington. So it was crazy how everything was working out. And I thought, okay, so I didn't have a job, which that was very hard for even my own parents, which is totally understandable to understand because, for God to work in their lives, it was, you obviously have the job and then, you go, which makes sense. But I was different with my relationship in God, where God had to literally shred me and tear me apart by faith. So there was no backup plan. It literally had to be, I knew that that's what God was doing, to fully trust Him, because I've never done that before. So I ended up moving. The apartment complex was not the greatest, but perfect for my puppy. And that itself is its own story, which my father disapproved of. And now it's the greatest thing ever to have him in our family. And got a job at Hobby Lobby, and that was for a season. And so by leaving, literally, that first week, I remember calling my friend Alyssa, bawling when my parents left. Why would God do this to me? This makes no sense. I've left everything I've ever known. That moment of panic when it's just you and God. And then I failed and I questioned Him. I was so, I did not know what to do. I mean, it's just crazy. I didn't have anyone to turn to or lean on. as far as in my environment at that moment of, oh my gosh, this is what's happening. I just had the phone to call my friends. So I remember walking in that neighborhood and really talking to God. And as I reflect back now, it was like he had to peel layer by layer to really renew me, to give me a new sense of spirit and strengthen me and teach me how God is my Father and have a backbone of my Father and things of that nature. So, it blows my mind to have that moment. We have a trial test with God. Okay, so do you really trust him? Because it is hard. I really have never heard of anyone give a testimony of how easy it is when you take that huge step in faith. Nothing just comes to you. You really have to work. And for this work was my work with God. And that was different for me to talk out loud alone in my apartment to God. People would say it's crazy, but that was what I did. That was how I really grew a relationship with him. And, I never had that inner spirit as strong as I did, and just to shine through that. And, to wherever I went, people were like, well, why are you here? And then to tell them, well, God led me here. I don't know why. And then to become a correctional officer. Didn't see that one coming. And, eventually the inmates even asked, some I would share, some I wouldn't, and even people I worked with, I know it was crazy, but it's the God honest the truth. And now is where I see how God just, he had to take me away from everything. And I would have never met my husband, who we now have a child, which has always been my prayer, to have a family. And so, talking about how I feel God just took me everything, it's like, no, he didn't take me from anything. He has given me more than I could ever imagine. And so, do I still miss my parents? Yes. But it is so worth it. And we have the best relationship that we've ever had. We've always been close. But, they have got to watch me through this whole journey with God. And, I've slipped up. Trust me, I have so many things to share how I've slipped up and had my moments and, doubts. But how you get through them and build your character is key. And just digging into the word. And I've totally just went mumbled. I apologize. I've gotten way deep. I didn't know coming into this I would be sharing all this with you guys. So just to kind of wrap things up is I want you to think about how big God really is. And that if you don't know him personally, I encourage you, because it's the best decision you'll ever make in your life. And just because when, if you do have a relationship and you've fallen back or you are close with him, but, nothing's really going on. Like, I haven't really heard from God myself in a long time, but I haven't really asked because I feel like I've just gotten hit and hit over and over with these life things that has really shook me up and turned my world almost upside down that I've had to deal with. And, I can honestly say I have not always clinged to God like I used to. And I need to do that again, because that's where you prosper. That's where you grow. And that's when you learn what life is about. So if you don't know him, I'd love to share him about you, because I can go on and on. Because when people discredit God's work and say, oh, you would have moved to Tennessee anyway, or, oh, you would have made it. You could have came back to Illinois, or this or that. No, I'm sorry to tell you. No, that's not true. The truth is God planned it. He knew exactly what he was doing in my life. I didn't know it. I had a full year by myself. Very, very lonely nights in that apartment in Cookeville. Nights where I just thought, should I go drink? That's the truth. because I was so bored. I just had my dog. I didn't, have friends to socialize with, or, did things like that. And I knew better than to go and do stuff like that. So you just, finding a church and good people to help you along the way. I have the best Tennessee family here I could ever ask for. And they're such a huge family, like my family. I love it. And that's God. God put those people in my life. God has blessed me with that. God has put me and my husband together. The way that we met and our story, there's no way we would have met. He was trying to go back to South Carolina, and it's just incredible, the timeline, that is God. So never give up on him. And if you want to change your life, you want to change your circumstances, that's where you start. You start with God, just talk to him. I hope this helps, and I hope you guys are having a great Sunday. Till next time.